Question number 1. What could be the right answer? Which statement explains why ammonia gas diffuses faster or at a faster rate than of hydrogen chloride?
B, sir. B.
So B is the right answer. Why? Because ammonia is having a smaller relative molecular mass. That's why lighter gases diffuse faster as compared to heavy gases. When you work out the mass, it will be 14 plus 3, 17, and this will be 35.5 plus 1, that is 36.5. Question 2. 2 grams of powdered calcium carbonate is added to 50 cm 50.0. So when they are saying 50.0, it means you want to measure accurate of which apparatus could be used to measure the calcium carbonate and hydrochloric acid. Question 2.
A, sir. A.
So because we are measuring a mass, so for measuring a mass we need a balance, and to record the volume we can use a measuring cylinder, a pipette or a burette, but the only apparatus which is correctly mentioned is the burette. So 2 is A is the right answer. In question 3, the measurements from a chromatography experiment using a substance F are shown. The diagrams are not drawn to scale. What is RF value of F? Drawn to scale does not are not drawn to scale does
B.
not mean like what is shown is same as the value.
90 divided by 55.
So distance moved by the solvent, distance moved by the spot divided by distance moved by the solvent front. So for question number 3, distance moved by the spot. So spot move a distance 55 divided by distance moved by the solvent front. RF value cannot be more than 1, it is less than 1. So this value is totally wrong. Why it is totally wrong? Because the spot cannot rise more than the solvent. So it can be maximum, it can be 1, but maximum it will be 1 if the spot and the solvent front rises to the same level. So that's why B is the correct answer.
Again, sir, again.
The formula to calculate the RF value is the distance moved by the spot divided by distance moved by the solvent front. So what is the distance moved by the spot? It moved 55 millimeter. What is the distance moved by the solvent front? The measurement.
90.
So 55 divided by 90.
Yeah, got it, sir.
That's why B was the right answer. Question 4. Which statement about an atom of a fluorine is correct?
A.
It contains more proton than neutron. When you find there are 9 protons, and how many neutrons are there? 19 minus 9, so 10 neutrons are there.
Sorry.
So it does not contain more protons. So statement A is not correct. B is the right answer because it contains total the sum. When
Yeah,
you
B.
add proton, because it's a neutral atom, so there will be 9 electron as well. So 9 plus 10 plus 9, that will be 28. That's why the total. Its isotope contain different number of protons. That's totally wrong. Isotopes have different neutron number, and its
Electron.
nucleus electron number is same even for isotope. Only the neutron number or atomic mass is different, and its nucleus contain 9 neutrons. It does not contain 9 neutrons. It contains 10 neutrons. That is why he was a right statement for question 4. Question 5. Which row describes the formation of a single covalent bond in methane? Question 4.
A.
Sorry, question 5. Yeah, A is the right answer. Atoms share electron pair, and both atoms gave a noble gas configuration. Question 6. What could be the answer for question 6? Which statement describes the ionic structure?
A, sir. A.
In this question, question 5, the question is which row describe the formation of a single covalent bond in methane? So when we draw the structure of a methane, carbon belongs to group 4, so it is having 4 electrons, so it will share 4 electrons. Hydrogen belongs to group 1, means it is having only 1 electron in the outermost shell. So they all try to share to complete octet or 2 electrons in the last shell. So when we check the number of electron for hydrogen, each hydrogen now because of the sharing will have 2 electron, and to have 2 electron in the shell, it means that matches with the helium. So it is same as the noble gas configuration. When we check carbon, how many electrons now after sharing? Before it was 4, but after sharing the carbon is having 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and 8 electrons also belongs to a noble gas configuration. So either an atom should have 2 electron in the outermost shell, first shell. If first shell is the outermost shell, and if it is having 2 electron, we call noble gas configuration. Or for other shells, it should have 8 electrons or complete the shell, so it will be noble gas configuration. That's why A is the correct answer. For any question, like if you want explanation or not able to understand the reason for answer, feel free to ask your doubts, because the reason for this discussion is to make you understand the topic from questions. Question A, what question 6, what's the right answer?
A. A.
Which statement describe the structure of ionic compound? They have a giant lattice of oppositely charged lines. Question 7. Propane burns in oxygen. Which value of x and y balances the equation? There are two ways. Either you can make a full equation, or you can just use the options which are given. For 7, what's the right answer? So why A is the right answer? Because when you place 5 here, 5 multiplied by 2 10, and when you place 4, so 4 multiplied by 2 8 hydrogen, so you have 8 hydrogen. 5 multiplied by 2 10 oxygen, 3 multiplied by 2 6 plus 4 10 oxygen. So 10 oxygen on the left hand side and 10 oxygen on the right hand side, so oxygen number is balanced. A tablet contains 0.08 grams of ascorbic acid, which is having a relative molecular mass of 176. What is the concentration of ascorbic acid when one tablet dissolve in 200 cm cube? To get the concentration, the formula to calculate the concentration is moles divided by volume of the solution in dm cube. So first find the moles of ascorbic acid. How to find the moles from the mass? The formula moles. I'm not doing calculation. I'm just uh, mentioning a formula which you'll use. So moles equal mass in gram divided by molar mass or relative atomic or molecular mass. You will get the moles, and the volume is in cm cube, so it should be in dm cube. So 0 point, when you divide it by 1000, so it will be zero point 0.2 decimeter cube. So after division, find the moles and divide by volume. So what's the answer for question 8? Question 8. After calculation, so when you divide, how to get moles? 0.08 divided by 176, you will get moles. And that answer divided by the volume, which is zero point 0.2, you will get concentration. Which statement about the electrolysis of copper to sulfate solution using carbon electrode is correct? So when you do electrolysis of copper to sulfate solution using carbon electrode or inert electrodes, so copper ions from the electrolyte, because they are less reactive, so they will move towards cathode. Hydrogen will remain in the solution. Sulfate, because of their size, does not move, and hydroxide, when it will move, it will give oxygen gas. So copper is deposited at cathode and oxygen is given at anode. So for question 9, because when oxygen is there, oxygen is a colorless gas, that's why A is the right answer. Colorless gas is not produced, that's the solid is produced. A color of electrolyte does not remain same, it changes because copper ions amount is changing. And mass of both electrode remains same, it does not remain same because when copper is deposited here, the mass of cathode will increase. For question 10, aluminium metal is extracted from aluminium oxide by electrolysis. Which ionic equation describe a reaction that occur at named electrode? So when you have aluminium oxide, aluminium which is plus 3 charge in electrolyte, it is attracted towards the opposite terminal, which is cathode, the negative terminal, and oxide ions are attracted towards anode and result in a formation of oxygen gas. So which equation is correct? Oxygen ions are attracted towards anode, but they are not. The equation, sorry, when we write this equation, when two oxides ion are there, it will form O2, but it should release, because one oxygen is giving two electrons, so two oxygen will release four electrons. That's why this is not correct. Aluminum does not move towards anode and oxygen does not move towards cathode. So A can be answer or D can be answer, but for A the equation is not correct in terms of electron. That's why D is the right statement. Yeah, that's right. The oxide ions loses four electron to get one oxygen molecule. Which statement about a hydrogen fuel cell is not correct? Basically, what happens in a fuel cell, hydrogen and oxygen react with each other and it will form water. This is a main reaction in a fuel cell. A chemical reaction is a chemical energy is converted into electrical. That's true. Hydrogen is oxidized. The term oxidation means addition of oxygen. That's true. Because first hydrogen does not have any oxygen, but it is having oxygen now. The reaction take place is endothermic. It does not require, it is exothermic reaction, not. And all chemical reactions which involve using as a source of energy are exothermic reactions. A chemical reaction in which we use a battery cell, these all are exothermic, release energy. The water is the only product, that's also true. So the question is, which is not correct? Statement C is not the right statement. Nitrogen react with hydrogen to produce ammonia. The reaction is exothermic. The bond energies are shown. What is the energy change? Energy change is bond breaking minus bond forming. So nitrogen means, N2 means triple bond between the two nitrogen atoms. H2 means single bond between the two hydrogen atoms. And how many bonds will be there? Multiplied by 3. And NH3 means nitrogen and hydrogen bonds. There are 3 nitrogen and hydrogen bond in one molecule. But we have 2 molecules of NH3. So how many bonds will be there? It will have 6 NH bonds. So calculate the bond breaking minus bond forming, you will get the energy change. So after calculation, what's the right answer for 12? You can take your time and calculate. The bond breaking minus the bond forming is equals to energy change. So bond breaking, the bonds which we are breaking a nitrogen and nitrogen triple bond, that is 945, plus we are breaking hydrogen hydrogen single bond, that is multiplied by 3, so that will be 3
Yes.
multiplied by 436. That is bond breaking energy. And the bond forming, that is NH bonds are there and 6 NH bonds, so 6 multiplied by 390. And just do the subtraction, bond breaking minus bond forming. When you substitute the values, you will find B as a right answer. Question 13. Which change in reaction condition increases both collision rate and proportion of molecule have sufficient energy? Question 13.
D, sir. The temperature.
So if we increase the temperature, the molecules will move faster, more collision, as well as greater proportion of the molecule will have sufficient energy to react. But if you change the concentration or surface area, or even you use a catalyst, catalyst actually lower the activation energy, concentration and surface area, increases the rate of collision but does not change the proportion of energy. Question 14. When a blue-green crystals of nickel to sulfate are heated, water is produced and a yellow solid remain. When water is added to a yellow solid, the blue-green color turns. Means it will, it's a reverse. What it shows, which process
Reversible reaction.
describe these changes? So reactant can
Reversible
form a
reaction.
product and the product can form back the reactant. So what we call that as reversible reaction. Question 15. The graph shows how the yield of a product in a reversible reaction changes as the temperature and the pressure changed. All reactant in product are gaseous. Which row correctly which row is correct for this reversible reaction? Question 15.
Sir, I didn't understand this question. Can you explain?
Look, first thing, when you compare the temperatures, like this is a graph for 100 and the other graph is for 300. At which temperature you are getting more product? Yield of a product means amount of product. Higher temperature or lower temperature, first
Yes.
thing.
I,
Higher temperature. So when temperature is high, you're getting more product. So it means that reactants have less energy and the product is having more energy. That's why as you increase the temperature, you're getting more product. So if reactant have low energy and the product is having high energy, it shows that the reaction is endothermic. That's the first thing. Because higher temperature, more product means the forward reaction is endothermic. So either B can be answered or C can be answered. A and D are wrong because they are showing exothermic. Then what is the effect of pressure? On x-axis you have pressure. You are increasing the pressure. As you increase the pressure, what happened to amount of product? Is it increasing or decreasing?
Decreasing.
Decreasing.
So lower pressure, more amount.
So if you increase the pressure, equilibrium always shifted towards side where number of moles are less. So if the amount of product is decreasing, it means the pressure, what happened? When we are increasing the pressure, equilibrium is shifted towards left hand side. And increase in pressure, equilibrium always shifted towards side where number of moles are less. So I'm increasing the pressure, I'm getting small amount of product, I'm getting more reactant. So which side we have fewer particles? So it means the reactant side we have fewer particles. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So increase in pressure always shift the equilibrium towards side of where we have less moles. Which changes represent oxidation? Oxidation means addition of oxygen or in terms of or of loss of electron. Which changes, the Roman numbers are representing the charge of these elements. Question 16.
It's not one because it's gaining. No, it's one.
Oxidation means loss of electron.
Yeah, it's losing out.
Look, even without knowing the electron loss or gain, I can just use the concept of change. If the charge, if the number will increase, we call that as oxidation. If the number will decrease, we call that as reduction. You can understand from the term reduction means something is decreasing. Now, see what is the number charge here for iodine? -1. What is the charge of iodine molecule? For molecules, for elements, does not have any charge. So it is 0. So -1 becomes 0. What is this change? Increase or decrease?
Increase.
Increase. So means this is oxidation. Then when you check chromium, it is +6 change to +3. What is this change? It was +6, it changes to +3.
Reduction.
Reduction. And here it is +2 changes to +3. What is this change? When +2 changes to +3. So it is increased, so that is also oxidation. If the charge on the atom increase, oxidation, charge decrease, we call reduction. So 1 and 3 are the oxidation, 2 is actually a reduction, decrease in the charge. Or loss of electron. Question 17. Nitrogen oxide, nitrogen dioxide, and carbon monoxide are all non-metal oxide. They do not react with acid or bases. So if it does not react with acid or base, what we call them? So if an oxide does not react with acid or base, what we call them as neutral oxides. Actually, these are unstable oxide, does not remain, these oxides of nitrogen does not remain in atmosphere. This nitrogen monoxide readily convert into nitrogen dioxide, which is acidic. And non-metal oxide, what you studied, carbon monoxide is a neutral oxide. So if any oxide does not react with acid or base, we call that as neutral oxide. The position of elements W, X, Y, and Z in a periodic table are shown. Which elements form basic oxides? Which elements form basic oxides?
W and X only. B.
Question 18. Basic oxides. Look, this is a metal, this one is also a metal, and Y is also a metal, transition metal. So what type of oxide metal forms? Metal form basic
Yeah.
oxides. That's why it should be W, X, and Y, all three of them. Z will form a non-metal oxide or acidic oxide. Question 19. Not all. Look, the thing is that there are some of the metals which are forming amphoteric oxide. Amphoteric oxide means that oxide can react with both acid and alkali. But most of the metals are forming a basic oxide. So generally when you say metals form basic oxide, exceptions are there, few of the metals are making an amphoteric oxide which can react with both acid or alkali. Ethanoic acid.
A, sir.
Ethanoic
Mention
acid is a
A.
weak acid. Hydrochloric acid is a strong. Which statement is correct? Question 19.
One and two.
So for question 19, if we check the statements, ethanoic acid, because it's a weak acid, so molecules partially dissociate or ionize into ion, that's true. 1 mole of ethanoic acid has a higher pH than one, that's true, because pH and hydrogen ion concentration are inversely proportional.
Yes.
If there are more hydrogen ion, then lower pH. If less hydrogen ion, higher pH. Ethanoic acid is always more dilute than the dilution. It's not necessary. This statement. The term dilution is refers to how much water is there. So it is not always more dilute or less dilute. Even we can have a strong acid, but we have a dilute solution of a strong acid. The term dilution means like addition of the water. If we have more water in the substance, if we have more water in the solution, we call that as a dilute solution. But that dilute solution does not have anything related with weak acid. A strong acid can also have a dilute solution. So ethanoic acid is not always more dilute than hydrochloric. That's wrong. Ethanoic acid is proton acceptor. Proton acceptor is the definition of base. Acids are proton donors. So the statements which are correct, 1 and 2. Question 20. The properties of an element are shown. Which element has these properties?
D. Group 1.
So group 1 element, they have soft metals, low density, high electrical conductivity for all metals, and violent reaction is there with cold water. Question 21. Which statement about element in group 1 and 7 in the periodic table is correct?
C. C.
So always the more reactive halogen can displace the less reactive halogen. So bromine react with potassium chloride, that's totally wrong because bromine is less reactive. As we check the reactivity of halogens, it becomes less reactive as we go down the group. So more reactive halogen can displace. So bromine with potassium chloride, there is no reaction. Iodine is monoatomic, non-metal. They all are diatomic. Fluorine exists as F2,
Yeah.
chlorine Cl2, bromine Br2, and iodine I2. Lithium has higher melting point than potassium. So as we go down the group, the trend, the melting point decreases. So that statement is true. Sodium is more reactive with water than potassium. That's wrong because when we go down the series,
That,
the reactivity increases. So lithium, sodium, potassium. Potassium is having a violent reaction as compared to that of sodium. So C is a right statement for this. Question 22. Which statement about elements in group 8 of the periodic table is correct? Question 22.
A. Full outer electrons. No reaction.
So they have full outer electron and does not react. So A is the right statement for this. Question 23. The diagram shows the structure of the two substances used to make electrical conductors. Which statement correctly describes X and Y? 23.
Sir, can Y be a liquid?
Can Y be?
A liquid? A liquid?
How, in terms of structure, does it appear to be liquid?
It's not a fixed structure. I mean,
No, why it does not appear? They did not make a complete. Even you can see this molecule. The molecules are almost touching each other in contact.
yeah,
And why a geometry or a alignment is slightly disturbed because of the impurities.
yeah, yeah, indeed,
Alloys means the mixture of the metals. Like when you mix two metals together, it will form an alloy. So when you have identical atoms and regular arrangement, it is metal. But when you have a mixture of the metal, like there is a impurities, you added the impurity, but not too much, still it is there. So we called a mixture as an alloy. So X is a pure metal. Why? If it was a compound, look how we distinguish it's not a compound, because if it was a compound, then the distribution should be same. Like how the distribution should be same? If there is one positive ion, then there will be another negative ion. Then positive ion, then negative ion. Same distribution should be there. That's why we cannot say compounds have a definite proportion of atoms which combine to form the compound, because atom combine in a fixed or a definite proportion to form a compound, but it does not look a definite proportion. Some regions you have more impurity, some region you have less impurity. So that's why statement A is not correct. X is a solid, Y is a liquid. The structure does not show that Y is a liquid. Both have the same structure, so both are solids. X is harder and stronger than Y. That's wrong, because if it's an alloy, it opposite will happen. The Y will be alloys. When we make an alloy or mixture of the metal, it become harder and stronger. Question 24. Three metals compounds P, Q, and R are heated using a Bunsen burner. The results are shown. A colorless gas which relight the glowing splint. So it means oxygen gas is given off. Colorless gas which turn lime water milky, so carbon dioxide gas is given off. And there is no reaction or no change of the heat. Like because of the heat, it does not change. So what could be the compounds?
A,
Compound P, it's giving out oxygen. So if it is giving out oxygen,
so
how it can
carbonate.
be? It cannot be carbonate, because nitrates on decomposition gives metal oxide plus nitrogen dioxide plus oxygen. The thermal decompositions.
Oh yes, yes.
And when you supply heat energy to metal carbonate, it will give carbon dioxide. And potassium carbonate and sodium carbonate are stable to heat. That is why C is the right statement. Because if it was magnesium carbonate, that should also decompose on heating. So this is related to the table of thermal decomposition. Yes, Hashim, you have a question?
No, sir, by mistake.
Okay, I'll share another link and continue this discussion.